right, so we're gonna look at the first method that we went over on Monday, and it says solve the equation, and we're using option 1. We're gonna add a note to enter the solution from least to greatest. So on the first line, we have the equation that we're solving, or the polynomial we're gonna solve. And option 1 says that we can move all the terms to the same side of the equation and then determine the zeros. So option 1 last week we learned on Monday, and you have 3 steps for it. The first step is to solve your equation for 0. Or make your equation equal 0. I shouldn't say solve for 0. Set your equation equal to 0 is what it says. So we're going to set this first equation equal to 0. Right now it is equal to -1. So instead of -1, we're going to add 1 on both sides so that we get our equation equal to 0. So that's the first step. Second step is to graph the polynomial. So on the third line here, I'm going to click on my screen on the third line, and I am going to type in that polynomial. So x to the third power minus 3x plus 1. There we go. Next, we move on to step 3, and step 3 is to find your solutions, and your solutions are the x-intercepts. So Desmos tries to be very helpful, and it gives us all of these key points of this graph, right? It gives us the highs, the lows, maximum, minimums, the vertices, the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts. So you have to decide, you've got to be able to filter through all of these wonderful points they give us, filter out what you need, or which one of those points is the solution, right? Or which one of those points are the solution, because it may be more than one. So according to the steps that you were given last week in your notes, it says that step 3, the x-intercepts are the solutions. So we're not interested in the minimum and maximum or the vertices unless they are on the x-intercept. Not interested in that y-intercept or this minimum point here or that point. So these are the 3 points. Let's scoot this graph over. Just the x-intercepts. And we're only interested in the x values. So -1.9, 0.3, and 1.5 are the answers. So, So over here, you're going to put your answers on the 4th line. Now to add a note in the top left, you're going to hit the plus button. You can hit note. This way it doesn't try to graph it, because it recognizes that this is just you trying to say something or communicate with me what your answer is. So you're going to put in x equals, the first one was -1.9. We're just going to round to the nearest 10th. The next one was 0.3. And the third one, 1.5. And that is it for this first one. Oh, no, wait. All right, so on slide 2, this says solve the equation, and we're going to use option 2. So we have the same equation. It tells us that option 2, we can use the line y equals -1 and see where it crosses the function. So the steps that you were given for this method, step number 1 was to graph the left equation. So graph what's on the left, and for this one, what's on the left is x to the third minus 3x. We are going to put that in that first slide number 3, first available. So x to the third minus 3x, and that pops up. Then we're going to move on to step 2. And on step 2, we're going to graph the right side. So the right side, we have -1. Now, when you go to graph this one, it does not recognize -1. It doesn't know what -1 is, so you won't get anything. So that's why it tells us that we need to do y equals. So we put y equals in front to tell it this is a function, and then it will graph that. You can also do that on this one above. If you need to always remember you have to put y equals in, you can do that. Nothing's going to change. But if it is just a number without a variable, it doesn't recognize what to do. So you have to put in y equals for constants. Okay. So we graphed what's on the left of the equation. We've graphed what's on the right of the equation. And then your last thing is your answer. And your answer for this one, or your solutions for this one, is the intersections. So we look to the intersection of the two graphs. So again, Desmos is going to try to be very helpful. It's going to give you all of these points. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 different points here. They're all over the place. So for this one, since we have 2 different equations, that first one we only had 1 equation, so there was only one place to look, which was on the x-axis. For this one, we have 2 different functions. So we are looking to see where do those 2 functions meet up. That is where our solution is. So we're not interested in any of these points that don't have both lines involved. So I'm going to start over. Maybe. There. So only where the blue and the red intersect. So you'll see we get the same answer. -1.9, 0.3, and 1.5 are the answers. So you're putting those from least to greatest. So again, you can put it in just regular because it doesn't know. So 1.9, -1.9, 0.4, 0.3, and 1.5. 0.3, comma, 1.5. You can put that like this, but somewhere on one of these lines, I need to know your answers. It's fine if it has this exclamation. It just says it doesn't know how to graph. But these are the solutions to using this method, which is considered a system.